We're running late for school. I hate running late for school. I don't want to be judged as that parent who's running late for school and their kids are tardy again. So I madly find the shoes, get them on my kids' feet, locate the backpacks. And as I shuttle the kids out the door to hop in my beat up Honda Odyssey minivan, my 2-year-old 50-pound terrier decides he's going to come out the front door too. Now, ever since we got this dog as an 8-week-old, 8-pound ball of snuggles, energy, and anxiety, he has had 2 major drives. The first drive is that he always wants to be with his pack. Wherever we are, he wants to be. If we're not in the same room with him, he'll bark furiously until he finds one of us. But if we are in the same room, he wants to snuggle with us on the couch or play tug of war or steal the socks off my oldest kid's feet without him noticing. And we love snuggling with our dog. He's part of our pack. He's our puppy. But his other main drive has been to get out the front door. And he's fast and he's wily and he can get out that front door so easily. And when he was a little puppy, he would zip out that door and run up and down the street gleefully with this joy like I'd seen in very few beings. And the intrinsic joy of this running meant he couldn't hear us call his name. He wasn't interested in treats. There was no way to get him back in until he'd run out his energy. Well, we didn't really want our puppy just randomly running around the street because he could get hit by a car or he could get stolen, or I could have to face one of the neighbors who stepped in the poo that I hadn't managed to find when I brought him back in. I didn't like any of those outcomes. So we tried all kinds of configurations, training, baby gates, shutting him behind doors, and still that wily little puppy would find his way out that front door. So we decided to do something I'm not particularly proud of. We decided to torture him with an electric fence. Which, for those of you who don't know, that's where you get an electric wire that goes around your property and you put a shock collar on your dog. So whenever he goes to the edge of the property, he gets a shock. And therefore, he will not leave your yard at any point unless he's in the car. And when we did this, it gave us some freedom because we didn't have to worry about him running around the neighborhood. But it had some side effects that we didn't expect, like he got a little bit more aggressive. And he really hated it when we wanted to leave and he was in the front yard. If we left him out there, he'd get more and more angry with the car. And at some point, he figured out that he could attack the tires. And he figured out how to turn his head a little bit sideways and stick his incisor in and thereby puncturing the sidewall of the tire, which, by the way, you can't repair. So after buying 3 new tires, we figured out that we couldn't leave with him in the driveway. Now, I am going to say that after the 3rd tire, I thought about maybe we should give this dog back to Austin Pets Alive where we got him. But my youngest kid said, "You cannot give away my brother. He's our dog." So here I am in the driveway, need to get the kids to school. So I open the minivan door, and fortunately, he really likes going for rides in the car. This is one of the only ways we've been able to get him back when he did used to run in the street. So he hops in the car, happy to go with us to school. So I get everyone in the car. I start driving. Traffic is going so slow. It feels like everyone's driving 6 miles per hour. And like I hit every single traffic light red. And so my fingers are just drumming and drumming and drumming on the steering wheel at every single traffic light. Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? We don't want to be late. And finally, we get to school and we pull in the parking lot and we're not quite late yet. And I look at the carpool line where I could pull in and someone would open the doors and the kids would walk off on their own. But there are too many Cadillacs and Escalades. I don't know if the Rolls Royce is there that day. I'm too stressed out to see, although it's always fun to spot it when it's there. But today I am not risking the carpool line. We'll be late. So I pull into a parking space and I soon as I put the parking brake on, I pop open those doors and tell the kids to hop out, and they're speedy. They hop right on out the car, and so does Minion. And I think, crap, my dog is running around the school parking lot. What am I going to do? How am I going to get him back? Is he going to get hit by a car? And I feel like every single parent walking past me is looking at me with the judgment that I feel about myself and thinking, how is she such an idiot to get in this situation? And I'm standing there in my shame. Fortunately, my puppy decides there's this really great piece of grass and he's just going to drive back and forth and back and forth and run back and forth on the grass. And I think, okay, maybe if he just runs it out, I'll be able to get him to hop in the car. Meanwhile, some of the parents who aren't judgmental are like, can I help you? But none of us really know what to do. And then Jennings comes up. Now, I've seen Jennings around school, but I haven't really talked to him because his kids aren't in the same grades as my kids. So we don't go to the same birthday parties and soccer games and teacher appreciation events. But I've watched him lovingly walking his daughter into school. And he's one of the carpool dads, a group of dads who every either Tuesday or Thursday morning is standing there helping the kids out of the cars so they can walk into school by themselves. And every time I've seen him, he's dressed exactly like he is today. Crisp white shirt, Wrangler jeans, Stetson, and boots. And these boots are not ostrich, they're not lizard, they're not Lucchese. These are working man Roper cowboy boots. And he smiles with a really gentle smile and says, do you have a leash or something? And I said, no, I wasn't expecting him to get out of the car. I wasn't even expecting to bring him. And he said, no problem. I've got you covered. And I watch him walk over to his pickup truck and pull a lasso out of the back. In the middle of this parking lot of Cadillacs and Escalades, he's got a lasso in the back of his truck. And as he walks towards me, Minion decides, hey, I can go exploring. And he starts running through the parking lot, dodging through the wheels of the cars of people who are running even later than I am, even more stressed out than I am, looking for a dog even less than I am. And I'm sure he's going to get hit. So I follow him and I run after him and try to keep track. And he goes out of the parking lot, across the street into kind of a grassy field next door. And there is where we managed to get around him, me on one side, Jennings on the other. And Jennings gets his lasso and he starts spinning his lasso and he throws the lasso and it's just hovering there for a moment. And in the legends of the carpool dads, it lands and he gets the dog. But in reality, Minion shifts left, it's hit Minion on the nose and Minion is still running free. But of course, Minion doesn't like getting hit on the nose with a lasso, so he gets back on his haunches and all of his hackles go up and he starts barking and barking and barking like he wants to take Jennings off the planet. And at this point, I think, I wonder if he's run off his energy enough to hop in the car. So I say, hey, Jennings, why don't you keep an eye on my dog? I'm going to run back and get my car because I think he'll hop in it if I go get it. And he said, okay. So I start running back towards the car. Minion recognizes that his pack mom is leaving. He doesn't want to be left alone with that guy with the rope. So he starts following me. And as I'm running back into the parking lot, some mom is driving out. She rolls down her window and she says, you are a brave woman. And I'm thinking, brave is not the right word for me right now. But I run to the car and I open the door and Minion just hops right in like nothing happened. And I'm just standing there so full of rage and shame and embarrassment. And all I want to do is yell at my dog. But I also know that if I do, he'll never get in the car again. And so I just look at him and say, good dog. And then about a year later, I run into Jennings at an event. A fancy event. We're in formal wear and he's there with all the carpool dads and they see me and they smile, a big smile, and they wave me over and they say, hey, did you bring Minion with you tonight? And I said, no, I leave him home for the formal events. And Jennings said, good, because I couldn't fit the lasso in my Uber.